The weather's been warming up and it's really time to just really start tackling the gardens. The weather's been kind of in the 50s during the day at this point in time. I need to get the garden cleaned up so I can get the peas planted. It's kind of the first thing that goes in spring for me. A lot of other people put in onions and potatoes, being kind of their first crops that go in. I always put in peas. They really like the cold weather. Getting them in makes sure that you get a harvest, and the peas don't go bitter with the heat of the summer. So the garden needs to get cleaned up so I can do that. And just generally the garden needs to get cleaned up. This first trellis that I'm pulling the tomatoes off right now is coming out of the garden. It's actually out at this point in time that I'm editing. I've grown tomatoes on these 2 trellises for a few years now. And it's just, each trellis is just 2 T-posts pounded into the ground with a little bit of mesh wire in between them, and then kind of lashed onto each post. And then as the tomatoes grow, I wind them through the wire, and the wire just kind of holds them up to the post, and so I don't have to do any other tomato supports because they hold themselves up with their stems onto the plants. They hold themselves up with their stems onto the trellis. And so that's kind of the first part there. I'll get that cleaned up and out of the ground and everything else raked up. Last year I noticed that I had a lot of weeds growing in the garden, things like purslane and quackgrass and clovers, just lots of things kind of growing throughout the garden. And so by getting an early start on this, that means that I will have time to kind of focus my efforts on digging out some of those weeds, and so that the roots can't continue to move and pop up in new places. And so really just getting all of this cleaned up and ready to go, and I'm excited. It's spring. It's time to start planting. All of the pepper starts are up. They've all germinated. The tomatoes are on their way. And then so when it's time to get those out, they will be ready to go. We're having kind of an unseasonable warm period here. And so right now a lot of the plants are out in the greenhouse or outside really and just enjoying the weather. And that's nice to get them to get some fresh air and some natural sunlight. And some wind on the leaves to harden off those seedlings a little bit. It was a really great work day, a little bit cold, as you can see, kind of in a sweatshirt there, but that's nice. I like working in the garden when it's a little chilly, so that you can have a sweatshirt on and then kind of while you're working, you warm up, rather than it being super warm while you're working, and then it just seems like no matter what you do, you're just, warm. I'm just excited to get this cleaned up, and I will bring you along when I get the peas planted, and I definitely want you to kind of hang out as I clean up the garden. This section that I'm pulling out right now is where I had the peppers planted last year. Those are all pepper plants that I'm pulling up. I do know that you can overwinter pepper plants. You dig them out in fall and you put them in a pot and you kind of bring them in. I haven't tried that yet. Maybe I'll try that this fall. Maybe I'll try to bring in some pepper plants and see if I can overwinter them in the house and get them going early in spring, get an early harvest off of them. That would be fun, having an early harvest of peppers. But right now, really just trying to get this garden in shape so that I can use it this year. This rake is my absolute favorite rake. It's actually 2 rakes in one. So the big rake has really flexible tines, and so I use this rake when I do my spring cleaning of my flower gardens, and it just kind of skirts right over the top of any daffodils or tulips that are starting to pop up out of the ground. But it also grabs any leaves or debris or anything that I need to clean up. And then on top of it, there's a smaller green rake. And that green rake is really nice for getting in and around other plants or bushes or cleaning leaves out of any other, bushes. And so that's my favorite garden rake. And then I have my brand new trailer garden cart. I just got that this year. It's a Gorilla cart. I'm really enjoying using it because using that means I don't have to use my wheelbarrow, which I've used for years. And I'm just trying to be easier on myself and easier on my body as I'm gardening and have something, that works for me rather than having to do all the work myself. Anyone else feel behind with their garden this year? I feel like, I just feel like I'm not ready. I feel like I'm not on top of things. I feel like the weather is changing faster than I can get everything ready outside. I haven't ordered mulch yet for my flower beds. I haven't finished edging my flower beds. All of that work needs to be done. Weeding needs to be done. I need to dig out grasses and weeds have popped up before I can kind of get a handle on them. And I just feel like it's only April and everything's ahead of me. And is anyone else at this point? Is anyone else feeling like their gardens are it's the beginning of the year and their gardens are already getting away from them and they haven't had a chance to kind of tame them yet? I feel like in a normal year, I'm ahead of the game. I get the gardens cleaned up. I get them edged. They're looking pretty. They're ready to go. And it's not usually until like late August, maybe September that they get away from me again, or I feel like they have gotten away from me. But this year, I don't know. I need to dedicate some time to try to get on top of the gardens and making sure that I'm taking care of everything. Lots more to do, lots more to figure out. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay here for the journey. I'm trying to build a community here. I'll see you next time.